Welcome to this tutorial. In this video, I will take you through my sculpting process from start to finish. We will create this model, which I called Duckynosaur, in ZBrushCoreMini. The process begins with the default sphere. In order to shape the sphere into a basic body form, turn on the symmetry first, then we will use the move brush. Increase the brush size to about 700 and simply click and drag on the surface. It's not necessary for the shape to be perfectly precise at this stage. We can make further adjustments later on. We can also use the smooth brush to soften and blend the surface. Hold down the Shift key and click and drag on the surface of the model to smoothing out any rough edges. Next, we will use the snake hook brush to sculpt the legs. Decrease the draw size to about 350. We start with the back legs, creating the thighs and calves. So simply click and drag on the surface, and the brush will pull the surface out in a snake-like motion. Then use the inflate brush to give the legs some volume and mass, and also building up the overall form and structure for the feet. Then switch back to the move brush to create webbed feet. Don't forget to turn on the symmetry option. Since we're creating a symmetrical character, we can work on one side and have the changes automatically reflected on the opposite side. Also remember to hold the Shift key to smooth out your last strokes. Be careful to not lose a lot of the surface detail. Now we complete the palmate feet with the move brush. Lower the draw size first, and you can also turn off the symmetry to create a little bit of asymmetrical balance. Now with the move brush, shape head, neck, and a tail. Smooth out the surface, switch back to the snake hook brush to make the front legs. Then give them some bulk with the inflate brush. Now lower the draw size a little bit and build up some volume to make a base shape. Switch back to the move brush and shape the webbed front legs, just like the back legs but a bit smaller in size. To shape a beak, use the move brush to sculpt the general shape of the beak. It doesn't have to be perfectly accurate, we will touch it up later. Switch to edge polish. Now with this brush, we want to flattening the tail and also creating hard edges and creases on the tail. This gives the tail an organic shape, also prepare the surface for applying the scales. Now select the clay buildup brush to create a sharp edge that separates the armor from the skin. Then smooth only the inside edge by holding down the Shift key. With the same brush, increase the draw size. Now we're going to add material and texture to the base of the armor and also smooth the surface a bit. Now, in order to make the armor, select the chisel creature brush. So we're working with the scale 1 and scale 2 to create the armor. I prefer to use this brush instead of sculpting the scales manually here, because it's perfectly mimic the look of sculpting with a chisel. So we can create sharp cuts with hard edges and corners for the armor. This brush in general is useful for creating details and adding texture to organic forms, like a skin in this case. Also, you can turn the symmetry on and off whenever is needed. I turn it off mostly for the scales in the center line. One thing is that when we are adding material to our model, we're also increasing the active polygon count. So you might encounter a pop-up window informing you that the mesh is too dense for this free version. In this case, just hit the reduce button and ZBrush will decrease the number of polygon counts. You might need to wait a couple of seconds for this process. Then select the /3 brush to create a thin curved line through the edge of the armor. Use almost a minimum draw size. Let's go back to the beak to add some details. We start with the H polish brush to remove small bumps from the beak and create a smooth and polished surface. Then select the clay builder brush to create an edge that separates the beak from the face and smooth out the inside edge. Switch back to the /3 brush to create more definition. Now select the inflate brush to push out the surface a little bit, and this is just for the front of the beak. Now we can sculpt the mouth line with the /3 brush with a small size brush. To create the nostrils on the beak, select the clay builder brush and increase the intensity a bit. Make sure symmetry option is turned on. Build up the wall of the nasal passages, then with the same brush, hold down the Alt key and create a hole, then smooth the surface. Now create the upper eyelids area with the same brush, and then hold down Alt key to remove material and create the eye sockets. Then smooth out the surface. Now we can use the hemisphere and the chisel shapes brush to create the eyeballs. You can adjust the intensity depending on how you like the shape of the eyeballs. Now use the clay builder brush with a small draw size and Z intensity and form the eyelids. Try to avoid eyeball itself and polish the surface by smooth brush. Make the eye pupils by holding the Alt key and clay builder brush in a small size or the hemisphere shape brush. With the clay builder brush, sculpt the living structure of the feet. Hold down the Alt key to remove material and smooth the surface, and repeat the same for front legs. You can also adjust the overall shape of your model anytime with a large size move brush. When working with the free version, you might receive a message that gives you the option to reduce the polygon count, or you can reduce it manually when the number is close to 700k by hitting one of the options on the top shelf. This will improve the performance of ZBrushCoreMini and make it easier to work with your model. Also, if you plan on exporting your model, it may be necessary to reduce the polygon count in order to optimize the model and make it easier to work with in other software or for 3D printing. Now you can experimenting with different materials and colors to achieve the desired look for this model. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also check out my other video explaining ZBrushCoreMini interface. To see more videos like this in the future, hit that subscribe button. I hope you enjoyed. Bye.